The Matthew Dark Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, praise God and welcome in. We have three major stories all converging here at one time. We're going to start with Iran and the MOU that is of this morning declared sort of dead, done, off the table by Donald Trump. Of course, the U.S. has revoked now in response this license for Iran to sell legal oil throughout the world. That was a part of this 60-day MOU. They could sell oil to the world, open up the strait, no bombing from Israel into Lebanon. All those things were discussed upon this MOU signing. It was on shaky ground when it started, and it is now officially dead in Trump's mind. He calls them crazy and they're scumbags, and he says all this stuff. We'll hear some clips from him, but it is very clear, as anticipated and as told on this show, that there was not going to be a peace resolution, certainly in this run of things. It had to get worse, had to get more violent. And so, of course, just last week, we start the bombings, intensifying them now. Deal is now dead. Let's just hear Donald Trump so that we have the sort of tone now coming from the White House. Let us hear just this morning Donald Trump.
Ceasefire over. Is the ceasefire done? Is the MOU dead?
It's a very interesting question. To me, I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is? They're scum. They're sick people. They're led by sick people. And they're vicious, violent people. And if they had a nuclear weapon, they'd use it. As far as I'm concerned, it's over. I'll
That's the dog whistle to the baby boomer. Remember, you're still scared of the nuclear
Steve
threat.
Witkoff, Jared Kushner. But they have to come back to me. As far as I'm concerned, it's just a waste of time dealing with them. They're liars. We make a deal. And if I make a deal with him, we have a deal. And he goes out, he talks. We make a deal. Everyone's agreed. No nuclear weapon. We make a deal. They go outside, talk to the press. They say, we never even talked about it. There's something wrong with them. They're cuckoo. As far as I'm concerned, it's over.
So, of course, then we have to put that in the backdrop of what happened last week. The Department of Justice was ordered by a federal judge in a part of a lawsuit. They're in violation of federal law right now. Todd Blanche could be arrested. He could be subpoenaed. He could be prosecuted for breaking congressional laws passed, the Epstein's Files, Transparency Act, Thomas Massie, Ro Khanna. That was only one opposed that in the entire Congress. It's unheard of. It's unprecedented. And so that happened last week. The DOJ blew through that deadline on July 2nd and has yet to release what the judge ordered. And so there's going to have to be an action because, see, Congress, of course, oversees the Department of Justice, the FBI. They are responsible to report to Congress. So Congress will have to act on this. We have so many bad players inside of both the Republicans and the Democrats regarding the Epstein files. They don't want to deal with it. Nobody in government wants to deal with the Epstein files. And so we have a very well-timed increase in hostilities now with Iran. And I don't think those two are coincidental at all. We know for a fact that Donald Trump doesn't want to deal with the Epstein files. Todd Blanche has said he's not going to deal with the Epstein files. We got rid of Thomas Massie for pursuing the Epstein files. And I think they think the American people are going to just give up on the issue. And I make that message clear. We, the people of the United States, are never going to stop talking about the Epstein files. And we don't care if your heroes are in them. We don't care if your heroes are connected to this organization. Thank us later because we got you shifted to the right kind of leadership, heroes that you should be seeking. You should be seeking the Lord Jesus Christ, of course. If those that are opposed to the Epstein files were walking with the Lord Jesus Christ, they would snap out of it like that because under no circumstance, even if Trump is completely innocent in the Epstein files, let's just pretend that's the case. Don't you want the Democrats? Don't you want the other bad players? Don't you want these other horrible stains on America to be prosecuted, potentially hung for their crimes? Don't you think that's appropriate when we have something so severe as the Epstein files? So the Epstein files has been put on this sort of put it in the closet, nobody talk about it, lock the door, because we can do other things that can maybe bring Americans distraction. And that was the Iran war. Of course, mid-February, Pam Bondi, she testified, made a fool of herself in front of Congress, talking about the Dow Jones at $50,000 when they're asking her, why aren't you proceeding with prosecutions of these 6 co-conspirators that we can see as obvious? Stevie Wonder can see it. Helen Keller can see it. All of our famous blind people, they can see these emails, and that person must be interviewed, at least interviewed. And then we might have to peel back a few more layers, and it could open up to who knows how many criminals were involved. But we know we have at least 6, and the FBI believes there is 6. That's why they were labeled as co-conspirators in that FBI document. That is something we did get to see, but of course, redacted names. The co-conspirators, as highlighted by Thomas Massey, were redacted names. And so we simply can't stand for it. And we also can't stand for an ongoing war to be just the justification for the Epstein distraction. We can't participate in that. But I think we're sort of narrowing down here. This is just the American people waking up and saying, I demand the truth no matter how painful. So we have a situation right now where the same group that is saying Israel first, the same group that is supporting the war against Iran, the same group that is echoing this continued just irrational thinking, Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. And let's just put that into perspective. They've never had a nuclear weapon. Whether they have ambitions or not, it's irrelevant. They currently don't have a nuclear weapon, nor have ever had a nuclear weapon. That's number one, and we know that from NSA, DNI, Joe Kent, Tulsi Gabbard. There was no imminent threat that the Iranians had a missile ready to bomb the United States, take out Washington, take out New York, like that. That's not true. If you're believing that, I'm grateful to be able to bring that truth to you. That is not true in this case. Okay. So we can't support it for that. But that same person that is chanting, Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. This is usually a baby boomer, call it 62 to 80, white, Republican, Trump first, MAGA all in, all this. That's the demographic that we're talking about right now. They're also Israel first. And what I found so interesting too, is they're also the Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk crowd as well. I mean, we're going to look at a little bit of that testimony, look at a little bit of that shooting. Of course, what they're telling you in Charlie Kirk's case, and again, this is don't believe your lying eyes, is what they're asking you to do. Is of course he's sitting here speaking to the crowd, and the bullet we know is here. And what the government's position is that this is an entrance wound. This is a 30-06. Only going about 4 inches into, hitting the neck bone, and then deflecting down into his body. Now, remember, J.D. Vance took the body 2 days after, flew it on Air Force Two back to Washington. Now, we're going to get into why on earth would you do that? Why on earth is the vice president collecting a body of a citizen of the United States? So there's a lot to that. We'll get to it in just a moment. So they're asking you to not believe your lying eyes as this bullet hits his neck. And of course, if you just go online and look for any of these videos where they're shooting a cow's neck, a pig's neck, a steel, a concrete, the human neck bone isn't going to stop that ever. And it's not going to be such a perfectly beautiful little in. So we have that issue to get our heads around. The other issue is that his body clearly goes up and to the left. Okay. Up and to the left. Okay. Everybody sees that too. Same with Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles. They're all seeing the same thing you're seeing. Of course, on Charlie's right breast, he's got the lavalier mic. Okay. We believe that is absolutely the weapon that killed him. And of course, you see that projectile. Now, whether that was supposed to explode and kill him like a shot to the chest, or there was a malfunction and it shot piece of shrapnel, the whole point is this is an exit wound, not an entrance wound. So I'm not even sure that they're going to be able to bring charges, go to trial against Tyler Robinson. That's just one area. The other highlight that came out this week with the Charlie Kirk case, the pretrial, of course, this is to prove to the judge that there's enough to move forward with the trial. And so they're still trying to get that done. It's a 5-day process. The detective that found the screwdriver on the roof, because remember, the narrative around Tyler Robinson is, of course, he had his grandfather's 30-06. He shimmied it up on the roof, unassembled, put it together on the roof, took that crack shot one time, 150, nailed it, okay, disassembled the rifle, gets off of the roof, goes down, goes into the woods. We'll pick up from there in a second. But the screwdriver that was found on the roof was found by a Utah cop. That Utah cop's body cam battery goes dead as he is discovering the screwdriver. So we have no evidence that that was there and that he was the one that found it. Does it remind you of anything? It reminds me of the missing minute right at the exact time. Now, this is crazy because Pam Bondi tried to tell us, oh, yeah, that camera does that at 11:59 every day. So that's nothing. But the missing minute in the Jeffrey Epstein suicide is it's not available. We had guards asleep. We had a camera go down at only the moment we had to have. Same thing here with this cop. This cop is telling us that I swear I found it. It's just my body cam died. Now, these body cams are designed to be on record mode and last up to 14 hours, longer than the officer's shift. That's how they make them. Axon. That's a great, and they're all over every police department. And that's in fact what they were using too. But it died. And so he not charged it for several days? Was there any consequences for that? I mean, that's malpractice. If you're a cop, you don't let your body cam capture what you're doing. You need it for your own protection. We need it as citizens to ensure justice is going on. And that's the law of the land now. Cops wear body cams. And if it's not working at the time of a major event that you're involved in, you've got a lot of explaining to do. So that's another element. You have to say, I stop lying to me. It's not what I see. The bullet through is going the wrong direction. And, you think about it like a car wreck reconstructionist. They're looking at skid marks, looking at damage to the vehicle. Maybe a tree was hit, pole was hit. They're able to with a pretty degree of certainty, get the miles per hour that the person was traveling, the angle in which maybe they went off the road or impact took place. They're able to reconstruct that pretty well. And there's just no way you're going to be able to prove to 12 jurors that this is now an entrance wound, not an exit wound, that his body goes the opposite direction of where this shot came in. There's no blood everywhere. His head would have been literally taken from his body on that. Neck bones don't stop that. Neck bones certainly don't have the ability to redirect a bullet, and it goes into his heart just perfectly. And then you have the vice president sneaking off with the body 2 days later. Now, why is all of this? Why is it that the confessions that Tyler Robinson supposedly made on Discord were made after he was in custody already? The timeline that the government is trying to work off of. In many cases, they claim Kash Patel, remember he said the famous 33 hours, we caught him at 4:30, but yet they're using incriminating evidence sent via text, sent via Discord after 6 p.m. But it can be proven that he was already in custody at 4, but he's giving confessions after being apprehended. That's not going to work at all. They've got conflicting DNA on the towel, both Lance Twigg and Tyler Robinson. And remember the motivation from Tyler Robinson. What we're told is that he hated Charlie so much because Charlie was so mean and hateful to the trans community, which he wasn't. He was truthful about that community. And that made him so upset, out of his mind, that he was going to embark on one of the most famous assassinations, certainly public assassinations, in the history of the country. I mean, I'm thinking JFK, MLK, Charlie Kirk, John Lennon. I mean, these are major people being assassinated in front of us. And so he did this. Of course, he has no record. And, he appears to be some kind of autistic. And if you look at the rate of transgenderism connection to autism, it's 50%. 50% of our trans kids are also autistic. Now, every kid is 1 out of 27 kids is autistic now, thanks to vaccines and red food dyes and poisonous inputs into our children's system. But that's a connected thing. So easy to deceive, easy to manipulate the autistic child. That's why they can get them to go trans, embrace them. If they're not having friends, we'll be your friends, and we can make you a girl if you're a boy, and whatever you want to do. So that's a high rate that you see in the trans community. And so they're preying on that. So as it stands right now, they want to present this case that this was much like Osama bin Laden, right? If you remember Osama bin Laden, he took out 3 buildings with 2 planes in New York City, and they all fell free fall demolition style, right? His motivation was that he hated America's freedom so much that he organized the pilots, the bombings, the terrorism, the funding, all of that stuff, because he was so resentful of our freedom here in America. That's what we were told. And we could see those buildings come down, and we saw the images of the plane, and we didn't ask any questions, just go to the Middle East and kill them all. We're so upset. We're so scared. And of course, that was under false pretenses as well, that buildings can't fall down like that. Certainly not with a plane. This is steel. I mean, these are buildings that don't come down like that. And they were actually designed with that kind of impact in mind. So we know that those are, again, government lies on a major story, and then convenient things we're having to, okay, I guess I can get my head around how Tyler Robinson and he was not like he was a sniper in the Navy, a sniper in the Army, and was maybe an all-time marksman. That wasn't the case at all. And when I see guys trying to replicate that shot online, and these are experienced gunmen, they're like, I hope I can get this on the first shot. Well, Tyler Robinson did. Tyler Robinson did get it on the first shot. He did it with a rifle that he had to reassemble on the fly, adrenaline pumping. I mean, you don't have a criminal record, and you're about to shoot a very popular, righteous man in front of thousands, and he's cool as a cucumber. Boom, just like Thomas Crooks. Boom, right? So all these guys are the marksmen of the year. And they're doing it, and they're rogue white guys that we could pin on. But in this case, Tyler Robinson was so resentful. I mean, he absolutely hated, because his lover was Lance Twiggs, and that's a transgender. So the relationship, now he was going to go and defend her. And if you remember, a lot of the messages back and forth were very poetic, oh, my love, how I do this for thee, and that kind of talk. So they're going to basically try and fry this autistic gay kid and pin it on him, when we now know that there is no way that the 30-06 did this. I mean, you just can't really go to bed at night thinking, I would never question that. Maybe this is a BB gun. It looks like that, and flinches you like that. This is a 30-06 from 150 yards that's a big caliber bullet. That's not just gonna, and your neck is like butter. There's a pretty soft skin right here. The neck bone, you think it's about like that, and it's actually indented. This is not like a piece of steel in the back of his neck that's going to ricochet a bullet. I mean, even if his neck was made of titanium and reinforced, the skin, the flesh, this is all exploded. I mean, this is a gruesome, terrible, awful, horrible scene. And that's how we know it wasn't a 30-06. But this device here, and of course, he leans forward. And of course, let's just go ahead and peek at that real quick.
The Matthew Dark Show, your one-stop show for truth, courage, fellowship, and faith. Available everywhere you get your podcasts.
Okay. The famous shot. Let's go ahead and just roll it and just see this. Make sure our eyes aren't deceiving us. This is the moment right here. They've paused it. Now, this would be a long shot, because this is gruesome. This is horrible. This is awful. Okay. And you see the flinch. You see the angle of the body, and they'll say, oh, you get a bullet like that, you don't know. Well, that to me appears opposite of the direction that the movement should take place on the body. So again, we're just talking about reasonable doubt here. You got 12 people listening to this, and there's going to be intimidation. The judge is a complete phony fraud joke. He's pretending like he's never seen this stuff before. They had a video image of him watching Charlie's assassination, and this is a judge that has sat in front of cases like this before, murders before, but he's going to play theatrics for us. We're going to have Erica Kirk running out of the courtroom because she can't handle it. And this is going to be a pretty fascinating moment for her, because nobody believes her grieving. Nobody believes that she was a virgin and didn't date. I mean, we saw her on a virtual or a reality dating show getting cocktails and talking about this Christian pure woman. Christian women, pure women, virgin women are not going out for cocktails on a dating show. It's not consistent. You would keep your virginity because you take that as an oath to God's command. One man, one woman given to each other, they're yoked for life. That's the only reason you would do that. There's not a secular reason. There's not a secular or cultural thing to say you have to wait before you have sex if you're a regular person. That is a religious foundation. So she claimed that's what she was. I'm not going to date. These guys are so crazy now, blah, blah, blah. It was a lie. We saw you on the movie, sweetie. We saw you on the TV show. Nobody believes her. And that's a major problem because guess what? Now they say, if you don't believe Erica Kirk's sympathy, then you're a bad person. You're a Muslim. You're anti-Semitic. And of course, Charlie got himself in trouble. I mean, this was real life for Charlie. And then the people that had sort of allowed him to grow and prosper, he had a lot of funding. It wasn't like he started with $5 and he's a self-made guy, but he was fantastic at what he did. He loved the Lord. He knew the Constitution. He loved this country. And he spoke eloquently about all those subjects. And people were attracted to that. And there was a movement behind TPUSA. Ask Me Anything. That was a very popular movement happening along campuses all across this country. But something changed in Charlie's perception, his vision. Maybe we're not doing things right. He had two things going on. He wanted an audit at TPUSA. He felt like he was being stolen from. So that's one potential act of hostility that we're looking at. The other one that's really important is Charlie's sort of move away from Israel. Believe it or not, Charlie Kirk, and I don't know how our Christian Zionists are going to criticize him, his Jewish donors were pressuring him. You can't have a relationship with Tucker Carlson. You can't have a relationship with Candace Owens. And Charlie himself began to think, maybe this Israel first isn't exactly what America needs right now. This is Charlie publicly expressing these views. Right after October 7th, Charlie asked very famously, was there a stand down order in response to the Hamas terrorist attack? How did it take 6 hours for the IDF to respond to something like that? Israel is a lockdown country, small lockdown country. It doesn't take 6 hours to respond in Israel. Oh my gosh, I would think 30 seconds. I would think minutes. I would think at most an hour. And you have your entire army there taking care of it and saving lives. And that didn't happen. So questions began to be asked of him. Be asked of Israel. And if you think about it, the Zionist right now is a baby boomer. I mean, let's face it. It's 62 to 80. It's white conservatives for the most part. This is Zionists, right? So they're being taught in church that if you don't bless Israel, God won't bless you, although that couldn't be further from the truth. God's not talking about the secular government of Israel. And I always think it's so important to remember this. Tel Aviv, Israel, is the homosexual capital of the world. It makes San Francisco look like a Midwestern town with a couple of weirdos in a corner. Tel Aviv is Babylon, okay? And that's inside of Israel. We're supposed to view as holy, supposed to be, hey, there's no accountability here. They can do whatever they want. They're God's people. This doesn't match up. God says have a homosexual culture. Israel was also infamous for mass vaccination of their citizens, forced vaccination of their citizens. And the Israel data, and that's available, we have plenty of that to show you, please do, showed a lot of harm to its people. Pregnant women and then the general population were injured by COVID-19 vaccines. And that was Israel forcing it into the arm of their citizens, the Jewish brother and sister that the American Christian pretends to care so much about, to be all in for, standing for, doing all these things for, as they commit genocide in Gaza, as they commit and try to commit another one in Beirut. We already have over 4,000 people killed in Beirut from IDF attacks, all in the name of we must push back Hezbollah. And so peace was never on the table with this Iran deal. As long as Israel is a player in this thing, peace is not possible. It's not what they desire. Israel's existence is based on them being the victim, being persecuted, and then strumming up all that support for a greater Israel. You see why we have to stand with Israel. If it wasn't for Israel, they pretend that this little bitty, itty tiny nothing country with zero resources is somehow a vital, crucial element to the survival of the United States. And I think we're finding it the opposite. Has the United States gotten better, improved since 1948 in the form of the family, the values, the peace, civility, the cohesive one as Americans? Has that increased since 1948 or gone down? Right? Do we have a cultural rot going on or a cultural pop going on, meaning things have never been better? I mean, we know the answer to these things. And so we do have to ask ourselves, is this an appropriate relationship? And that's exactly what Charlie was speaking to. Although, unlike me, Charlie was speaking to millions and millions of people in a demographic that was really going to weed Israel first, Israel Zionism out of America. He's speaking to high school children, kids. He's speaking to college kids, young adults, 18 to 35. That's his demographic. That's who he was speaking to. That same demographic, they didn't grow up necessarily with this bond for Israel, this love of Israel. I've told you before, my grandmother was taught in Baptist school that every Jew goes to heaven because Jesus was a Jew. And of course, John 14:6 tells us very clearly, I am the way, the truth, the life. There is no other way to the Father except through me. This is Jesus speaking. So even that Jew who's still living in the Holy Land, he's got to hit his knees, accept the Lord Jesus Christ, or he spends eternity separated from God. That message is not in the heart of the 18-year-old today, the college kid today. He is not waking up thinking, is Israel okay today? They're just not coming up. But if Charlie was going to now push that demographic further away from Israel, then we know it's over for Israel and the money and the power and the reach into our government. It would be over. Why? Our baby boomers are going to start dying. The government needs them to die like now. I mean, you get past 75, the government has no interest in you because you're too expensive. You're now a net suck on society. Medicare, Social Security, you're not working anymore. You're not spending like you used to. So they're a drain on the culture from the government's perspective. So they're not looking to keep these around long term. That generation below has to say, well, we'll pick up and we'll be Israel first now. Israel will fight for you now. And that was going to get severed by Charlie and his movement. And you're going to have fracturing in that. And of course, with the Israel relationship, you get a lot of military spending that's good for a lot of candidates, a lot of politicians. So we know defense contractors love Israel because Israel's an instigator of all things wicked, right? You don't bomb and kill 50,000 children, okay, and then tell us that you're somehow the good guy. You're somehow the victim, okay? The conversation is over anytime another country kills 50,000 children. Sorry, end of story. Oh, and side note, the U.S. military and the Israel military want to merge and make this sever. You can't sever it from there. It's going to get prescribed into law that there's going to be certain issues, things like AI, weapons, intelligence, that have to come together in this new 2027 Defense Spending Act. They'll say it's for efficiencies and, hey, we're already fighting for them and all that. But that's going to permanently entangle the IDF and the U.S. military, in which it doesn't matter the sentiment of the people anymore. 99% of Americans could reject Israel, but because that law gets passed and signed into law, it's going to take another law to undo it. And I don't think you're going to get that with that crowd of people. The people are already opposing this Israeli relationship. It's not a big enough crowd that you could go all in on. I mean, most people are not thinking about Israel all day, every day, like the Mark Levins and the Ben Shapiros and the Laura Loomer. This is America. So we have to think about American interests, not the stuff 6,000 miles away that has no impact on you. And do we want the Israel as a country to thrive? Absolutely. It's just not worth an American dollar or an American death to see that happen. But we want all countries to thrive. We want Mozambique to thrive. We want Vietnam to thrive. Every country with people that are innocent, we want them to thrive. It's not worth a death or a dollar of Americans. That has to be the new move. And that is happening. That's why you have fracture everywhere. You have a very weird kind of overlap because much of the left doesn't like Israel. And then you have half of old MAGA that doesn't want anything to do with Israel. And that's the only thing they see eye to eye on, because the left is still all in on the trans, the DEI, the open border, the immigrant first. They're not getting off of all that. Well, I also oppose military aid and financial aid to Israel, but I don't agree with a single other thing that a Democrat believes in, right? And then now you have to be a true Republican. You have to do about 5 things perfectly, or you're a bad person. Okay. Number one, you are a Zionist. Israel is never wrong. If you want to oppose that, you're out. You're an anti-Semite. You're a racist. You're Hitler. Okay. That's one thing. You also have to believe and go along and co-sign that Donald Trump isn't covering up the Epstein files. This is on the up and up. And they get themselves in such a weird conflict. The boomer that is defending Donald Trump's decision to withhold the Epstein files, that boomer, okay, they have to do 2 things. When they fight with me online, they're always saying, well, if Joe Biden would have had, if Trump was really in there Why didn't Joe Biden release all? And of course, we've heard that 1,000 times. What we do know is that Joe Biden's friends and donors and political partners, they're also in the files. See, MAGA made a really silly decision when they said, Donald Trump's innocent. He's not in it, but we still need to proceed with charges against these Democrats that are in there. They won't even do that on the right now. Old MAGA or neocon MAGA says it's a Democrat hoax and that you're a jerk for wanting the information released, prosecuted, tried, convicted, and eventually hung for all those that hurt children. That makes me a bad person because Donald Trump is possibly in these files. And I think for the baby boomer that's gone all in, Trump first, God second, Trump first, family second, they've placed him at the top of their hope. They're not going to be able to handle what happens if we ever get a full release. And what they have to remember, I mean, this is what's so crazy. Trump is going to lose control of the Epstein files at some point, whether it's in November, whether it's in 2028. The Epstein files will not remain in Republican custody for life. It's just not going to happen. So how is he going to get out of this? And right now he's choosing not to deal with it, but continue the Iran war. So gas will be going right back up, oil popping 8% today. Okay. Military spending, inflation, government debt just increasing as a result of, gosh, I wonder if it was truly worth it. February 28th to go take out the Ayatollah, to start this, close the Strait of Hormuz. We lost 13 service members at a minimum. There's no reason to believe they're being honest with us with the death count. I think that's very clear that they would be ashamed of American deaths in the hundreds or the thousands for this thing. And because they can't promise that won't happen, they have to hide those numbers for us. So we don't believe the 13, but he's caused incredible financial harm. Before February 28th, about 90 oil rigs, oil ships would go through the Strait of Hormuz per day. It's been cut down to about 5 escorted ships through the Strait since the conflict. That's a loss, okay? The amount of munitions and money that we've spent, 100 billion so far, about $1 billion a day war, that is also a loss for the United States. That means we're losing this war. Let me ask this. Did Iran have more power or less power since we did this? Did they pick up some power or did they lose power? And it's obvious they've gained power as a result of this. And now the U.S. has only one option left. And this is what's so sad about this. The only thing that can be done at this point is the same thing that Donald Trump advertised on Easter. And you remember on Easter, he was using the F-bomb. He was going crazy on Easter, talking about you crazy bastards, open the effing strait or we're going to wipe out an entire civilization, never to return. That's the only way out for Donald Trump. And I know he doesn't want to do that. I know he doesn't want to do that. He didn't want to do the war in the first place, but he couldn't deal with the terms of the Epstein files. And so he just said, okay, fine, I'll do it. And that's why he continues to blow that whistle. Iran can never have a nuclear weapon, right? Like that's the world ending thing. And somehow Americans have no other fears in their life but that. Seems misdirected. And of course, Trump lied to us and told us last July, remember with the big bombers, that we annihilated the nuclear program. The busters that went way down, way deep, way into the earth. He said that we took out the nuclear there. National intelligence, DNI, they told us that there was no there wasn't even an operation to rebuild from what happened after that. So we know it wasn't to go wipe out the nuclear. And again, you always have to remember Marco Rubio, after the attack, he told us, we say, why did you go into the war? Why did it start now? He said, and this is the real reason, nothing to do with the nuclear program, was that Israel was going to attack Iran and Iran would have retaliated to U.S. military and interests in the region. So we preemptively took him out, but it was all, again, why did it start? Israel was going to attack. That didn't sound very good, of course, when you started to repeat that on the news. And so the real reason they say now is, well, we can never allow, like, I know everybody was freaking out, but we will never allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. And that's why we're going to still be in the war. And it's just such a bizarre fear. You know, let's see, would you rather starve to death, run out of money, be invaded by immigrants, be run by corrupt pedophilia politicians? Would you rather deal with those bad things, or just make sure that Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon? I mean, I'd rather take the first, where it's all America first, and we cleanse the nation and then see if we can help other people. Right now, are you kidding me? The United States, the same United States that is running cover for high, big dollar pedophiles, we're going to go tell other countries how they should behave, what they can possess. You can't have a missile as you rape children and then bury the evidence or bury the story. The gall, no shame at all. Have you ever looked in the mirror once, USA, and think, wow, what if we got the 2 million kids out of poverty? What if we cleaned up our inner cities? What if we got a tackle on inflation? What if we prosecuted those that hurt children? What if we actually did do something about the USAID fraud that was uncovered? Nothing's going to happen with that. Nothing has happened with that. I mean, we went to Minnesota, we killed the 2 people, we stopped deportations. Did you know that only 300,000 people have been deported since Donald Trump took office? And we were supposed to get at least 1 million a year. We were supposed to get 1 million a year at a closed border, and we're not even close. So at the end of Donald Trump's 2-year term, we won't even have 500,000 gone, but we received 20 million. We're still too high. We're still too heavy. There is no plan coming for that. There's no plan to get rid of mail-in voting. That is not going to happen. So you're going to live under fake elections, corrupted politicians, and then violence in your community. And that's because we look everywhere but the United States. We spent all this time in Israel dealing with the Middle East, whether that was the 20 years in Iraq and Afghanistan or the now ongoing concerns in Hamas, Hezbollah, Gaza, West Bank, Lebanon, Iran. Which would you rather focus on? Americans, hello, this stuff is nowhere near you. It can't touch you. And if you say, well, yeah, but what about 9/11? Let's talk about 9/11 for a second. Of course, we talked about how did a guy in a cave in Afghanistan take out 3 buildings with 2 planes in New York City, and they all fell demolition style? How did Larry Silverstein, who owned the leases at the Twin Towers, how did he manage to pull that off in the nick of time? He had terrorism insurance signed 6 weeks before. Did you know that the Twin Towers were covered in asbestos? The cost to completely remediate the Twin Towers from asbestos was $2 billion. Larry Silverstein purchased those leases knowing a $2 billion renovation was going to come, because you can no longer rent Class A. It at that time was already known asbestos was causing cancer. And so you couldn't lease out prime New York real estate and you have asbestos going on. Are you kidding me? But he bought them anyways. I wonder what he knew. I wonder, how did Benjamin Netanyahu know in 1995 that it'd be such a shame if the radical jihadists took out the Twin Towers in New York City? He says maybe then America would appreciate what we're going through here in Israel. He, of course, Bibi also extended right in the aftermath of 9/11 that this was actually a net positive for Israel because it was going to involve the U.S. in their struggle as well. So again, we stopped believing every government story because none of them are true. 9/11, COVID virus, COVID vaccine, 2020 election, Charlie Kirk's murder. Okay. These are lies. And as soon as the American people are repulsed by that lie, the baby boomer MAGA says, stop lying to me. I've heard the truth and that ain't it. Then we'll stop. But right now you have people on the left still gobbling up the Tony Fauci, FDA, CDC, COVID narrative, still gobbling it up. On the right, you still have all these Epstein denialists on the right that are saying it's a hoax. But then it's like, it's not a hoax because Trump said it was true, but they were all Democrats. And what we're just saying is well, okay, who cares what party they're in, right? Who cares if you like the guy? If they raped a kid, we got to get him, period. What is wrong with you, grandma? So these grandma baby boomers that love Trump and defend Trump, are you really telling me that if your grandchild was a part of this Epstein stuff, was abused, a victim, possibly killed it, you'd still say because Donald Trump doesn't want them released, don't release them? Are you nuts? So of course that's not true, but we're under a trance right now on the right. They've been under a trance for some time on the left. And that's why it's time to wake up America. Okay. So here's what we plan to do. We're going to be reporting on the Charlie Kirk preliminary stuff all week long. So tune in, follow Facebook, follow YouTube, follow Rumble. Folks, do this until the next time. Serve the Lord Jesus Christ. Tell a friend about him. Stay good. God bless everybody.
The Matthew Dark Show, your one-stop show for truth, courage, fellowship, and faith. Available everywhere you get your podcasts.